Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have The Reluctant Dragon. Yeah, I know I said yesterday that I chose to do the Taylor Swift Eras Tour, Taylor's version concert experience, which is 3.5 hours long. It was going to be today's episode. I know, because it premiered today, but it only premieres at 6 p.m., and that's pretty late for a 3.5 hour thing. I'm gonna pull a mulligan or whatever. The number of that day was 343. Number 343 was yesterday's selected number. That means we're watching The Reluctant Dragon, as if you already can't see behind us here. So The Reluctant Dragon is a 1941 sort of classic. Has a little bit of a warning at the beginning, like some of the older stuff does. There's certain things that are depicted in this that have not aged well. Could be determined a little bit racist. We'll leave that up to you. And that's what they do. They've left the things in here, but with a disclaimer at the very beginning of the film to let you understand things in context. Make your own judgment. So rather than editing things out and ruining the flow or just sort of giving you an incomplete picture, well, that's what they did here. So, 1941, The Reluctant Dragon. It is an hour and 14 minutes long, and it's a comedy. It's a live-action film, believe it or not, and it's about the making of a movie called The Reluctant Dragon. Basically, a man named Robert Benchley and his wife are sitting around a pool in California one day, and, well, as one does, says, oh, we got a pretty nice idea for a story. We should have our friend Walt go over to his place, his studio up in Burbank, and just have him make a movie out of this story about the Reluctant Dragon. Yeah, I guess you could do that in 1941. So, Robert Benchley, his wife drops him off so she can go shopping, as ladies do in 1941. He is sent into the studio and is greeted by a young page who is supposed to take him through to meet Walt right away to talk about his pitch. I realize this sounds to anybody in Hollywood, none of this makes sense. This is not a thing that even exists. You wish it was this simple. Yeah, it's not a thing. But instead, Robert gets a little bit distracted. By the way, it starts in black and white. The film is in black and white. At some point, we do get a Technicolor upgrade, and we get to see a lot of animation throughout as well. Some original stuff that's made just for this film, including the story of The Reluctant Dragon. But this is all about Robert taking a tour of the Disney Studios lot, which is kind of neat. You can take the Disney Studios lot these days. It's not cheap, and it takes a little bit of scheduling, but you can take a trip pretty much, though not exactly, like Robert Benchley did in this film. He is thrown into all sorts of various different studios throughout the lot, and he gets to see how the sound effects are made, the Foley artists, how the people record their voices, how the animation is done, how everything is paired together. He gets to meet the voice of Donald Duck, as well as a chicken that does a duet with him. You get to see artists drawing him in a very Disney-esque way, sculpting of he even gets a sculpture, a bust of himself. You get to see how the people who come up with the stories, how they build their story, how they come up with things and piece it all together to make something that's wholly unique. Baby Weems is that story, and and Robert gets to witness all this as it happens, and so do we. We get to go along for the ride in a sense. They don't acknowledge our presence at all. It's just sort of like we're watching over his shoulder in a sense. And through it all, we get some fun, neat little bits of animation. Some bits with Donald and Goofy and Pluto, but no Mickey, strangely enough. But not really spoiling anything, but at some point, we get to see Walt. 1941 Walt, by the way. Very young, not gray at all yet. Still very greasy, slick back looking thing as you do in 1941. Before the war made everybody old. The war was already happening at this point in 1941. We just were not involved yet. It would take Pearl Harbor to make everybody just a little bit more involved in the war effort. So yeah, you get to, it's really fun. Other than his sort of mostly sexist comments that he makes to the ladies throughout, and what are you gonna do? Apparently, in 1941, just smile and go, thanks, Robert. But for us, beyond that, we get to see how the movies are made, how Little Casey, the train, how that comes together. And we get to see some silly antics with Robert along the way. So part animation, part live action, and a big cameo appearance by Walt as himself in the finale. So yeah, it's something that might be worth checking out. This is credited, The Reluctant Dragon is credited as a separate film at some point. I don't know where else you can find it. You can't like look it up on here and see just the cartoon by itself. So you have to watch the film in order to see it. But I think anybody who's a big Disney fan and likes to see how everything's made and how it used to be made, at least, that things have changed dramatically over the last 75 years or so. Yeah, so I'd say, yeah, definitely, if you're a Disney fan, this is something you want to check out. So go for it. Let's pick. No. We got a 9. We got a 9. That is going to be after tomorrow, after Friday, because I already told you, as it was planned for today, I'm bumping Taylor Swift to tomorrow. So that's what I'm watching next. Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour. Taylor's version, with extra acoustic numbers and all sorts of craziness. The Taylor way. I don't know if we'll see any football players, but seems only fair. Taylor Swift, the Eras Tour, Taylor's version concert film on the next Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with that.